Tracks is an exciting new digital opportunity to obtain mentoring to help you improve your modeling. You will meet talented modelers and manufacturers from all over the world who share their model building skills and artistic advice. Improve your modeling and increase the confidence in your modeling efforts. Share your building efforts with fellow modelers and have some fun doing it. The shows are live on Zoom and YouTube, so be sure to join in and ask your questions. Now here is New Tracks founder and your host, Jim Kello MMR.
Spotlight him, Phil.
Welcome. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. We really do appreciate it. Hope you'll come back often and tell your friends about us. We had a slide we were going to use in here, but unfortunately we couldn't use it this evening, so hopefully we'll use it at the end of the show. Before we start the show, let me introduce Father Ron Walters for the show's prayer. Father Walters, welcome.
Creator of the world, as modelers and makers, we recognize the intricacy and beauty of our world. We thank you for the vision and artistry you have given us. Continue to bless us with your creative spirit. Amen.
Thank you so much, Father, for everything that you do for our show. It's greatly appreciated. Well, now I want to run the video of Dennis Brennan's company, who is a sponsor for our show, Brennan's Model Railroading.
For over 25 years, Brennan's Model Railroading has been offering unique products for the O-scale market. Our flagship product, Brennan's Better Ballast, was an instant hit and continues to be the industry leader. Its prototypical size and natural color blend of real crushed granite make it the choice for discerning modelers. Since then, we've developed a complementary line of natural ground cover materials. Additionally, we offer craftsman kits that anyone can build with complete photographically illustrated instructions that assume you've never done this before. The Sonky Wenky Coffee Company is the latest and the fourth kit to be added to our ongoing and highly popular limited edition Ellison Tribute series. These kits take Ellison's scratch-built iconic structures to a new level with Dennis spin. The idea being that if Frank were alive today, this is how we would build these models using modern methods and materials. Use the QR code to visit our website.
Thank you so much, Dennis, for being a sponsor for our show. And Dennis told me this afternoon that he's going to sign up for the year 2025 to continue his sponsorship. So thank you so very much for that. This is the last show for the year 2024. Phil is going to set up a Zoom link for next week, which would in effect be the 25th of December, Christmas, and for January the 1st, which would be New Year's. And so the shows will be open for anybody that would like to come in and talk about whatever you want to talk about, but they won't be hosted shows. If you have any problem getting in and you want to get in, the person to call is Tom Farrell, and you'll be getting an email about both of these shows, the same as you would if it was going to be hosted, and it'll have the information about how to contact Tom if you have a problem or whatever. And if you do log into the show, you'll be able to stay as long as you want, and you all can pick the subjects that you'd like to talk about. So again, thank you so much for being here this evening, the last show for 2024. We really do appreciate it. Hope you have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year from all of us that are involved with New Tracks Modeling. We really are looking forward to seeing you in January. January the 8th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time with your new host, Tom Farrell. So I look forward to that show. I think it's going to be great. I hope you have a great holiday season, a Merry Christmas, and a fantastic 2025. So with that said, let's start tonight's show. And our first segment is S-scale modeling, and our sponsor for that is the National Association of S-Gauges.
Are you looking for something a little different in your model railroading? The National Association of S-Gaugers suggests you take a look at S-scale. An S-scale model is just 36% longer than an HO model, but it's 2.5 times the volume. The larger size translates to increased ease of maintenance, more durable details, and improved electrical and mechanical reliability. S-scale modelers use accurately proportioned wheels and track systems with KD-style couplers. Exceptional S-scale models and layouts are being built in both standard and narrow gauge. Locomotives and rolling stock are available from a number of manufacturers in both ready-to-run and kit form. Equipment is available both new and through an active secondary market. There are numerous manufacturers of track, buildings, vehicles, and details, both ready-to-run and in kit form, available for those who love to build. And many S modelers enjoy kit bashing and scratch building in the larger size S offers. To learn more, visit the website of the National Association of S-Gaugers. Here you will find the history of the scale, information about clubs in your area, see layouts and connect with current manufacturers and online groups, plus much more. In short, the website has everything you'll need to explore model railroading in S-scale today. Come on board and visit soon.
We really do appreciate the National Association of S-Gaugers being a sponsor, and hope that they decide to continue in 2025. Jamie Bothwell is the host for this segment of our show, and I want to particularly thank Jamie, because Jamie is not just the host for this segment. Jamie has been involved and a team member of the New Tracks team for years, and he's made major contributions to our website, and he is the one who's responsible for everybody being able to log into the shows each week, because he gets out all of the emails to everybody once a week. So Jamie, thank you so much for everything you've done for the show up to this point, and now you're the host of this segment, so welcome.
Well, yeah, thanks. I'm glad to see people are figuring this out. We've had a couple of rough weeks here. So we figured out a problem with the email system, and so we were getting everybody their notices, and then they changed the Zoom link, and we're still trying to fight with that battle. So a couple of late minute additions, but hopefully we've got the problems worked out, and hopefully we'll see. At least, I guess next week we've got a couple of weeks to sort of test things and make sure they're rolling okay with the not exactly a show, but just volunteer to show up. So anyway, tonight Andy Millett's back again to tell us a little bit more about his layout. So I'll just turn it over to Andy. I saw him on there, so I know he's around. What do you got, Andy?
I don't see him.
He's here. I saw him earlier. I was texting with him. There he is. I think he's talking. You got to unmute yourself, Andy. I think you're muted. He's talking, but we're not hearing him.
Unmute yourself, Andy.
Oh, hi.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
I'm trying to share my screen.
Okay.
Is it
There you go.
shared?
Yep.
Okay. So
Now find the screen, show your screen show, what do you call it? Your slideshow.
yeah, and I have a video to show too. So,
Okay.
So I'm not sure what to click on here.
Down on the bottom right, move. There's a little thing that looks like a screen. Just come a little bit further over, a little bit right there. Click.
This one?
Yeah. Click on that one.
That one?
There you go.
Okay. So this is just a recap about what my layout is eventually going to be. Those are the plans. There's the lower level. And today I'm showing you the layout itself, and there's a Christmas train. So I'm going to see if I can share this video I took of it. Oh, wait a minute. Now, how do I get out of this? Hold on. Okay, here's a video. Is that being shared yet?
Yes.
Okay, can I play it?
Should be able to.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the layout. This is where the foundry will be As you can see, it's a temporary tree manufacturing area. That's William Kennedy and Sons Foundry. So here's the Christmas train. That's a K3 Pacific I built on an American Models frame. And these are all S-Helper service cars except for one, which is the flat car, and it's got Christmas trees on it. I'm trying to simulate the old American Flyer Christmas tree car. So these are pretty neat S-Helper cars that came out every year as a kind of a Christmas thing. So these are the yards in Owen Sound, and the train is going to be pulling out and going past the roundhouse, which is not installed, and the turntable, which has not been put in place because I need to put an RCA building flat across from it. And until I do, I will not, until I put it back there, I can't put that stuff in there because once that stuff's in, I cannot access the backdrop too easily. So it's pulling out of the yard. There's the crane, which will eventually become the coal supplier to the locomotives. You can see the roundhouse and a bunkhouse beside it. That's what's going to be there eventually. And the train is slowly pulling out. And I'm going to trying to give you a video tour of the layout. Hopefully it's interesting enough to everybody. This is my first time trying to do a phone video, so it's a little bit, I found it a little bit challenging, let's put it that way. Normally I use a video camera, which is now obsolete. So now it's passing what would be a lumber company, and then zoom over to where some more where the grain elevator is supposed to be eventually. There's a mock-up of it using cardboard tubes. Now it's going across the Potawatomi River, and there's a big tree there that's almost finished. There's some more trees that are finished. They're not really planted anywhere. It's now passing the boarding tracks where they board up the boxcars before they loaded them with grain. You can see some stacks of planks there, or wood, actually not planks, but now it's going around a corner, and in this corner was super test oil. You'll see some eventually to be oil tanks in a tank car, and then there's the other portion of those controls for the switches. Now it's going to head towards the helix, which is necessary evil to be able to get this layout to function the way I want to. So here's the helix. Somebody asked about how many levels. They're kind of 4 levels, but not really, 3 levels. As the locomotive's on the first level, you'll see this little short circuit symbol. If there's a short, the layout's divided in, I guess I can jump up to here. This is the candy cane forest where the grandkids come and pick up candy canes. Those are really nice candy canes that come with candies and everything. Here it is coming along a shelf, going along into Parkhead. This would be the west part of the Y. It's crossing Highway 6. And then it's going to go on to the north leg of the Y. There's a clock my father built. He was a woodworker. He did quite well. And this is Parkhead. It's as you can see, it's right over Owen Sound, and that's kind of a bridge over the whole hallway or the access there. And there's a whole bunch of trees that I built, and because Parkhead and most of this line went through a column of trees. There are a lot of neat cars in this consist. 3 of them light up. 2 of them are Rudolph, oddly enough, but that's what they did. So that's crossing over to there. And so it can back into Parkhead Station, and there we go. So it'll the video will terminate pretty soon. There you go. So I'll get back to my very quickly, if I can, go back to my spreadsheet, or not spreadsheet, PowerPoint thing. Let's see if I can get out of this. No, I cannot. Oh yeah, I can. I'm pretty computer
Yep,
illiterate.
up to the top.
Up the top.
There.
Exit. There you go.
Okay, so we're back at this, and okay.
And go down to the bottom right and put it back into slideshow.
Okay,
There you
thank
go.
you.
Good job.
Thank you very much for your help. Okay, there's an overhead view of Parkhead. Notice there's no snow, but that's the way it is. I haven't got the nerve to be covering it with snow yet. And there's the north end of the yard. There's a mogul that I built from a kit that Simon Perrant produced. And there's my fence in the back. That was an etched fence. I etched it out of nickel silver, and I've planted it. And there's another shot of the fence. Here's the other going around just before you hit Highway 6. There's a big birch stand. And if you take a look over here, there's Wyerton. And there's the turntable at Wyerton. And this is actually going into the turntable. And over there's in the lower left corner is Bothwell cheese, the most famous cheese in Canada. That's anyway. And so here's the other part of Wyerton. It would be the Niagara Escarpment. And there's a Dunkin' Donuts truck, which never existed, which will become a CNR truck. And at the end of the spur, there would be tank cars for BA and fish, oily fish, basically. And that's my presentation. There's Santa Claus saying Merry Christmas to everybody. That was what I scratch built before. Of course, I scratch built it before Rich Hill came out with a kit. I much would have preferred, building the kit. So there it is. That's my little presentation to show you the layout.
So yeah, I don't know if Andy's going to tell you about it at all in the future, but the Pacific that he built, he said he built it from a kit, I think, but he made the kit. So he drew up all the etching and the brass and had it etched out, and then soldered it all together and put it onto an American Models chassis. So that was quite a feat. So I've got one of those kits myself that I'm working away at very slowly. So anyway. But,
yeah, I might add there have been a lot of CNR brass kits available in S scale. I produced one, and Simon Perrant produced 3. So it's pretty easy to become a CNR S scale modeler in Steam if you want to. Yeah.
Andy, do you do your own etching?
I don't etch myself. I've had to move around a bit. I first had a guy in Scarborough, Ontario, which is on the east side of Toronto, doing them for me, but he stopped doing it. And then I went to a place called Chempix in England, but they got bought out and by somebody, I guess a big corporation, obviously, and they quadrupled their prices for modelers. And now I go to a place in Scotland called PPD, and they do nickel silver and brass. And as a test, I did the fence in nickel silver. I was really pleased with how they etched, and I'm almost finished drawing up a 1954 smooth side baggage car in F scale, so a CNR one. So I plan to use them again. Yeah, and I don't do brass casting. I had someone in Texas doing the brass casting for me, K&D, but they are no longer around. So I have to rely on my friend who lives in Dorval named Simon to do it now. I can do resin casting, but no, not brass casting. Anyway, so.
Okay, well, thanks, Andy. That was a great presentation. So
thank you very much for having me on, guys. Yeah.
And
thanks very much.
Jim, thanks for the kind words earlier.
Oh, listen, thank you so much for everything that you've done, Jamie. And Andy, you're welcome to come back anytime. Beautiful layout. Thank you so very much for doing this tonight.
Thank you very much for having
me. I don't know how many, Andy and I have been talking about segments. I'm not sure how many he's planning to do, but we'll, certainly get him back if he's got more to show us.
I'm hoping to do one on the rolling stock that's necessary to model that particular area.
Okay,
If
great.
that's
We'll look forward to
possible
it.
at some time in the future. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. Merry Christmas to everybody, by the way. I hope you have a great holiday.
You too. Thank you so very much. Really appreciate it. Jamie, again, thanks for everything that you've done for the show.
You're welcome.
Well, now I want to go to the My Bill segment for our show tonight. The sponsor for this part of our show is Dan Dowdy and Amy Company.
Welcome to the world of scale, O&S railroading. We are your resource for all O&S scale modeling. Both our magazines are advertiser supported and free to read online, download as a PDF, or even print. All advertisers are hot linked to their website, so if you see something you like, just click. Please check out our websites for the current issues. All back issues available free for the O-Scale Resource and the S-Scale Resource magazines. And, if you are a manufacturer, distributor, or retail establishment, please contact us through our website for advertising opportunities.
Dan and Amy are great people. I've been writing for both of those magazines for going on 8 years. Unfortunately, the S-Scale magazine doesn't get published any longer. I've been on Dan to give us a new video that we can promote his O-Scale and the other parts of his business that he's involved in, but he's just too busy to do it right now. So we run this one with the S-Scale magazine still shown. But unfortunately, for the S-Scale market, that magazine doesn't exist anymore. We've offered the S-Scale community the option and the capability to comment and make suggestions and write articles and so forth in our newsletter, and I hope you will. Martin Bretfield is our editor and is always looking for information for our newsletter. So I hope that the S-Scale market will take a hard look at our newsletter and want to make contributions there, the same as they used to be able to make contributions when Amy and Dan were publishing the S-Scale resource publication. Well, now I want to go to the two hosts for the My Bill, Chris Course. Chris has been with the show almost from the beginning when we first started, and he does a great job with the My Bill. He's got Greg Cassidy that he conned into to helping him out when he wasn't available and being a part of hosting the segment now. But Chris, I want to thank you and Greg so much for everything that you've contributed in the past. And both of you know how long you've been involved and how much work you've put in. And saying thanks is not much, but I really appreciate it, guys. Thanks so very much for all your help. So with that said, Chris, I'll turn it over to you and Greg for tonight's My Bill.
All right, thanks, Jim. Hey, Greg, how you doing?
I'm fine. I'd like to point out how much we owe to Chris. Every month, he spends hours on the computer putting together all the slides for the My Build every month. And that's time that he could be building kits, selling kits, or flying planes. And I want to thank him personally for all the time he puts in for making My Build work every month.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. This month is a particularly huge effort on everyone that contributed. I want to thank everybody and apologize to them because unfortunately I had to scrunch some of them down so we could all fit them in a reasonable time frame. This thing, I think I quit counting at about, what do we have here? Probably about 100 images today. So thanks to everyone for contributing. Again, I apologize. Some of it's going to be squished down a little bit, and I'm hoping that we can, with that many contributions, I feel we're probably going to be doing somebody an injustice, but I apologize for that in advance. So with that, we will go ahead and start the My Build. Come on, full screen. There we go. We'll show up here in a second. Okay, there we go. All right, tonight's My Build is featuring you, and it's December 18th, and it looks like it's a little off center, but anyway, tonight's I'm your host, Chris Course, and my co-host is Greg Cassidy. And tonight we have we're featuring interiors. Looks like we'll start out with Greg. Greg, I know
Okay.
it turns down to like 25 slides.
Oh my God, no, I didn't mean to take up that much space. I just,
Oh, but-
okay, well, we'll get through them quick, I promise.
all righty.
All right, this first one is a control tower. It's one of the ones from American Model Builders, and it's one of the very first ones that I put an interior in. And I got these pieces. They're all the die-cast metal ones, and you'll see them in more pictures. You can go to the next one. So here you can see what the interior looks like. It's just some of those castings that you can get. I got them from a variety of different places, and I put them in place in the tower, painted them before I put them in, and then I put a light in the tower, and I figured, well, the best place to hide the wires is the smokestack that comes up from the boiler in the basement. So that's the tower leading into my yard. Next one. Now, this is a Carolina Craftsman kit of Brittner's Garage. And this is one of those cases where it's not a full interior, but it ends up looking like an interior when you look through the windows. After I had built the structure, I found some pictures of the interior of gas stations online and printed them out to where they would fit and cut them to fit on the walls. And the only piece of furniture I put in there is a case that came from Interaction Hobbies. Next pictures. And this shows you what it looks like looking from the outside in. So the illusion is of a full interior, but the only actual piece in there is that case that I put a couple of objects in. But looking through the windows, it looks like it got a full interior. Next one. Now, this is an Elkin station, again, from Carolina Craftsman kit that I built for a friend's layout. And it was going to be front and center on his layout. So we thought we can go ahead and at least populate the upper floor with all kinds of furniture and personnel and everything. And then I went ahead and put some lighting in. Unfortunately, in this particular case, because of the makeup of the roof wasn't going to be removable. So these people are all trapped inside now. But you can see them through the windows, and on the very front of his layout, people can look inside the windows and see all the workers inside the office. Next picture. And this is what it looks like looking inside. And he has this right on the front edge of his layout, and it's right at eye height. So you can look inside. And for the lower floor, I went ahead and put in a floor and a couple of little counters, but it's not near as fleshed out as the second floor is. Next one. Now for the same person, I built a house of ill repute that he asked me to do. And this is another Carolina Craftsman kit that was basically a restaurant. And it was my first chance to really do a complete floor plan of the rooms that were needed in this particular house, including a bathroom. Most of the furniture I got off of eBay. Some of the furniture came with the figures that he had gotten for this particular house. But it was fun laying out the plan and then building the walls, putting the wallpaper in, and trying to make sure that each room had what rooms would actually need to have. I actually went and put baseboard in because it looked better with it. The only thing I think I'm missing are electrical sockets. Next picture. And this is what it looks like from the outside. Again, it has some big windows in front. So I put a rudimentary interior in the lower level. It's got some tables and chairs, and then about halfway back is a bar that you can see through the windows. But since you can only see the second floor when you lift the roof off, I didn't have to do too much down there. Next one. Now this is a Conowingo kit. And this one was interesting to do. It's a little station, And again, because of a complex roof on it, I wasn't going to be able to remove the roof. So I said, how about if I just make the whole building removable? So I got together a bunch of interior pieces and I built a little ticket stand, glued them all in place, and then you can lift the building up off the foundation and see the interior. And it wasn't big enough to put much more than that in it, but it was fun doing that. And you can see it through the windows, I think in the next picture. Yeah, and when it's sitting on the layout, you can see through the windows that there's an interior in there. And then just the stuff on the loading dock just helps give the impression that it's really lived in. Next one. Now this is an O-scale conservatory made by Interaction Hobbies, and they actually sell a separate interior details kit. And I went ahead and had gotten both of those from Daryl. And building the conservatory was tricky. There's a lot of parts that go together, and you don't want to get glue on any of them. But building the interior part was just pure joy. It's so much fun. The stands are all laser cut wood, and then all of the other pieces are 3D printed. And then I added some ground foam and stuff for the foliage. And I had to make sure I did stuff right. My wife's a horticulturist. So I put all this stuff together, and then you can see in the next picture, I think, what it looks like. So next one. And the beauty of this is you can see the interior through the entire roof. I don't know why more buildings aren't all glass. We would do a lot more interiors if you could see them this easily. But it was a really fun building to make. And it was one of the ones that got me my merit awards for my structures. It was a lot of fun, but then interiors are fun. Next one. This is, again, one of the first interiors that I had built. And this is a Medford train station of one of the Western Maryland stations that was in Old Town, Maryland. And I first started working on the interior on this. I wanted to put a couple walls in, and I had made that ticket window. And I think once I did that, I just started going further and further. And I had some of the metal castings, and I'd gotten some plastic castings and put all of those in. And at that point, I realized I had to make a removable roof, but I was still kind of new at this, and I really hadn't made my rafters right, but it all worked. And I think in the next picture, you can see the outside of it. Yeah, and this is what it looks like looking in from the outside. I had lighting in it, and it gives a nice impression of it being a station that's actually being used. I could probably use a few more people on it because it looks like everybody's left. But it was fun building the interior for this station. And it's one of the ones where I learned about how much more life it can give to a building if you can put an interior in it. Next. And this is what the whole diorama looks like. The tool shed also has an interior to it, and the little privy there does as well, but the roof doesn't come off on that one. Next. This is, again, one of the more fun ones. This is a luncheonette from Nick and Nora Designs, and I was building it for a friend's layout. And I said, okay, how much real activity can I stuff in this thing? And I found a place on Etsy called Pete's 3D Design, and he makes a lot of restaurant type elements. So I went ahead and got some of those. I had to cut a couple to fit right. And then I painted them up. And again, I put a background in that looks like you're kind of got some counters there. And then for the napkin holders, I just took a piece of styrene that was rectangular, painted it silver, and then cut it, and they end up looking like napkin holders. And the floor was just a printout, and then I put some signs. And I did the same thing on this one that I did in the House of Ill Repute, where I print the curtains on tissue paper, And that way they look like curtains on both sides, and it especially looks nice when there's light shining through. Next picture. Yeah, and here you can see what they look like, and it looks like a little Italian restaurant. The guy is in back. He's just opening up some boxes of ketchup and starting to get ready for the day. We've got a close sign on there. But you can imagine in another hour, that place will be filled with people eating their breakfast. Next one. And this is what the outside of it looks like. And again, the roof is removable. So on his layout, he can lift it off and show people the inside of it. Next. Now, this was a scratch build that I did for an O-scale layout in Williamsburg, and he needed a Pennsylvania Railroad scale house. So we had the blueprints for it, so I was able to build it pretty accurately. We didn't have much information on the interior of it, except that it had a holder for the scale beam inside there. But there wasn't much in there. There was a stove. I put in a chair, and I made some paperwork for him to write on, and some clipboards and a calendar hanging there, and then put a light in it. And it's hard to see in, but the cupboard for the balance beam actually has one inside it. Next picture. And this shows what it looks like from the outside, and the way he has it set on his layout, you can see in all the windows. So putting the interior in there was really worth it. Next picture. This was another scratch build for another O-scale layout in Williamsburg. And again, another Pennsylvania Railroad. I think they're popular down there. But this was a combination, agency office and scale house. And we weren't going to be able to have the roofs removable on this because of gutters, but I was able to put some furniture inside both of the bay windows because you can see in those fairly easily where it is on his layout. And I love getting one of the desks from Interactions. It's a beautiful little desk, and building some of this stuff in O-scale is so much fun. It just, you can do a lot more than you can in HO. I wanted to make those drawers actually open. Next photo. And this is what it looks like looking from the outside in once the bay windows were put in place. But I just had printouts for the back of the walls there. And then some of the furniture is metal casting, and some of it was laser cut wood. Next picture. Yeah, and then this is what the whole building looks like. So on his layout, you can see the interior through those bay windows, which he really appreciated. Next one. Now this is the last one, and there's not much of an interior in here, but it's just a little general store, and it looks like times have been good because they've sold most of their wares. And I really included this one because it's December and we needed a winter scene. So next picture. And this is what it looks like. And you can see the interior through the windows. I have a light in there. It's a little yellower than I like, but who knows? If you're looking in the windows, you might even think it's candlelight. But those are my interiors. I love doing them, and I'm really encouraged that we had so many interiors for this My Build, because I think they're one of the more fun elements of modeling. So thank you, Chris. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Fantastic modeling as usual. Wow, I'm just blown away every time I see stuff like this. Are there any questions for Greg?
Well, I have a comment to make, Greg. One little detail that really tickled me. At your gas station, you have the rubber hose.
Yes.
That cars drive over to ding the bell. I have not seen I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that. And I think that's awesome.
It just, when I was putting the pumps down, I said, well, I got to have a hose.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's just some of that little stretchy stuff that you can string between telephone poles.
Yeah,
Just
well,
put it on
that's
the ground.
those are the little details that bring something to life. That's thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad it gets noticed.
Probably do that with heat shrink too,
Yeah.
like really small heat shrink
Sure.
or even wire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A small piece of wire would be just anything, but like I said, I've never seen anybody else do that. And I've always, I thought if I do a gas station scene, for sure that's going to be in there.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I have in there would be the little trough that you put your tire in to see where the air
Yes.
leak is.
Yeah. That'd be easy to make too.
Yeah, very easy. So nice job. Nice.
Thank you, Dennis. And thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Yeah, that's I think that's the dinger is one of the things that's probably been lost in time that most people have forgotten about.
Right. But
Yeah.
the old guys, we know this.
Yeah. Because I think when I first started to drive, I think they were probably being phased out. So, all right. So now let's see here. Next up, we have Phil. I know you're here, Phil. Yep.
I am.
All right.
Hang on.
So it looks like you have.
There's me, and I need to
Oops.
add a spotlight. Yeah, you can skip that real quickly. That doesn't matter at all.
All right. Yeah, it looks like
So-
you got 20 slides.
So I wanted to put these two up, and Tom and I were talking, and Tom, as you might be aware, actually took the first place structure at the narrow gauge convention, and these were actually from the NMRA convention, which was in Long Beach. So at that convention, the one on the right was the first place structure, scratch built structure, and the one on the left was the second place. What's interesting was that when at the PCR convention, this about 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago, they were actually reversed. So anyway, what I want to do is just show you this. I think what made these really interesting as buildings are the interiors. Because one of the things I looked at when the area that I model is the buildings, this is in Moss Landing in California, the buildings were fairly sparse. It was not a heavily inhabited area. They were fairly large and they were fairly nondescript on the outside. So I will go ahead and jump through the slides here real quick. Try to be quick. Right. So this is actually the red building, and this is it's a transfer warehouse. The signs are not on it at the point I took this picture. It goes onto a pier, and the concept was to have a way to have something that arrived by ship be able to be moved into the warehouse, and then it actually has an interior track. So we'll go ahead and just jump to the next picture. So this basically, if you look at this image set, what you see is pictures through the windows. So if you've got the building on the layout with the lights on, this is essentially what the scenes look like. Now, clearly, it's fairly dark outside to be able to see this. Go ahead and jump to the next picture. So this is a picture of the interior with the top off. So basically what you have is a structure that is 1/8 inch acrylic. So it's an 1/8 inch acrylic box, so you can pick it up and move it from a module to a storage bin, and then back on the module the next time you go somewhere. And that way you don't have the building in a trailer where everything gets broken off by the bouncing. So basically the way it's built is it's an 1/8 inch acrylic box, and you've got then the wood interior and wood exterior. The interior is actually scribed, the exterior is board and batten. But I think what makes this interesting is the wood. So the wood interior is actually designed based on the 1863 building that was built in Sacramento by the Central Pacific. When they built the building, if you go look at it, it actually looks like tunnel portals. So if you jump to the next picture, you actually see that what it did was just overlaid onto that scribe siding, essentially a 6x6 frame that matches the kind of tunnel portals they built in the 1860s. So even though this building was built a little bit later, theoretically, it follows that. But then in the rest of this makes out is to have a way to move things from the tracks that are inside to that track that runs out to the pier. And so I've kind of looked at the idea of having a hoist, some sort of a crane, but decided some sort of a hoist system was better. So this is actually kind of a created hoist system with all of the joinery are little plates with NBWs on them. The little transfer mechanism there was an HON3 ore car that was essentially ground down so it could become the carrier for a winch system to be able to winch things up if you want to. I'm going to jump to the next slide. So this is the second building. Actually, if you go back one, just, the one other thing, for those of you who had a chance, this was actually about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I did a session on using PowerPoint and printing things. And so one of the things to note here is the signs on the interior. Those are all printed using 4x6 photo images that are matte prints. They cost about 70 cents at my local print shop, my local camera shop, actually. And so what you do is you generate fairly high resolution PNG images, then cut them out and use felt pens to outline them. And I find that really creates very believable art, especially for workspaces where you don't have to try to meld it into the wall, where you sand off some of the paper. Anyway, jump to the next slide. So this is the second building, which is the white building. So the red building, which now you can actually see it has its sign on it on the front. The white building was intended to be a sugar warehouse. And the idea here is that they did sugar beet basic sugar processing that was then shipped to San Francisco for final processing. At the time, the Southern Pacific Railroad was very expensive to move things on the standard gauge railroad from this area up to San Francisco. So they actually had a pier and they were shipping. So this actually recreates what was a wharf into a pier with a warehouse on it. Obviously, it fits a lot better on a module. So if you can jump to the next slide. So these are some pictures of the interior of the building. So again, in a fairly low light area. Go ahead and jump to the next slide. So on one end, there's an office, and you can see inside the office, actually the desk there, I think, was a kit. Some of the pieces in the office are 3D printed, and some of them were a kit. So I don't remember which they were. On the left, what you see are the sugar sacks. So one of the things that tried to recreate here was the idea of they got shipments of sugar sacks by rail coming from the beet factory, they would then store those until a ship comes in. It's kind of an interesting research model when you look at an industry to think about, if you fill a ship up, how many rail cars does it take to fill the ship up? How much do you want to have pre-cached in a warehouse to be able to fill the ship up? And it turns out it worked out pretty well for the size of the warehouse. So you jump to the next picture. So this is a picture of what the warehouse looks like from the interior perspective. Everything in this was 3D. All of the framing in this was 3D printed. All of the wood is basically is wood on the outside, wood on the floor, etc. So what I was trying to recreate here was the idea of what would you have in a warehouse like this. So on the left, you've got the sugar stacks, which are developing. One of the things that was very interesting as I built this was I actually built a block of sugar stacks, and I started to figure out how would you actually get them up to that height. So what that came to was creating this idea. They've got some frames and they can move the sugar sacks up. So it actually fits into how you would do that back in the day when it was all being done by manual labor. Then there's a little receiving area. All the crates are 3D printed. There were some barrels. I think those were Clover House barrels and a 3D printed framework to hold them. And then the lights are actually built into the trusses, which are 3D printed. And the way that works is if you kind of look on each edge, you've got a light bar, which is 12 volts plus and minus, and they go down through the building. So the building's actually got about 10 lights in it, plus the office. So when you turn on the lights, it actually illuminates it pretty well. If you go to the next slide, These are O-scale buildings, by the way, so that's 20 inches by 8 inches. So this is, again, a picture of kind of the interior. The stacks of sugar sacks were actually created using tissue, or not tissue, but Grant Line sugar sacks, and then creating essentially silicon molds, and then producing these in resin that was cast. What I did for the vertical stacks was actually cast those as vertical stacks. That way you could put them together and just add them in across to build up the stacks. So I think that gives a lot of detail to it. Go ahead and jump to the next slide. So just a couple of other views of it. Next slide. So this is another building, and so I started this concept of doing some 3D printing. And what I realized as I built the next building was I had this building to build on a fuel dock that's actually a kind of recreation of the Standard Oil fuel dock that was in use back in Monterey in the days when they had a lot of fishing boats. So when I did this, if you jump to the next slide, what I did was took advantage of the fact that you could actually have 3 layers of 3D printed siding. So if you look at this picture, and you kind of see it on the one on the lower right, there's actually a layer that is the what would essentially be the basic framing. There's a layer that lays on that when it prints the first time, which is the verticals that actually do the reinforcing, the sway braces. And then there's a layer that's actually on the outside that's the furring strips. So what you normally do when you build a wall is you'd run those across. And one of the things I think that's really interesting is when you look in this building, it's hard to see in these pictures, but you can really kind of see it in the one on the right. You see a gap between the studs, which is the framing wall, and the aluminum siding. And it turns out that looks just incredibly realistic. And I think it's interesting, of course, this is O-scale, so you can create these kind of things where you have this kind of depth of field. If you can jump to the next photo. By the way, the rest of the interior, most of it's 3D printed. Those were some tools that came from the Fast Tracks folks at one of the train shows. They had the Mount Albert, I think that they have a laser cutter, and they cut those out of some laser board, and they actually make very nice tools when you can put them out. So anyway, this is kind of again a little picture of it. The lighting is done with 3D print. It was again 3D printed. I added some exterior lights on that came after this picture. You jump to the next picture. And so this is kind of what you see when you look through the windows. And again, I think coming back to what Greg showed in his pictures, what's cool about this is that if you remember the original first picture, this is only about 7 or 8 inches from the edge of the module. So, if somebody's sitting there and looking in, they're literally looking through the window at this kind of focal distance. So if you go and jump to the next slide.
Come on, there you go.
So this is something completely different. This was an attempt to produce an interior that was done without a lot of cost and a lot of depth because it was such a small building. And I think kind of reflects again to some of the things Greg showed is you can get a little bit of interior there that you see through the windows. So this was, I think it's a DPM model, if I remember correctly, Aunt Martha's house or something like that. So it's a resin kit. Go ahead and jump to the next slide. So what I just wanted to do is create the illusion of an interior. Again, it's on a module. In this case, the tracks are at 48 inches. If you saw the previous, it's up on a hill. So it's actually up at, pushing 60 inches. So it's right at eye level for an adult. So it's, again, fairly close to the edge of the module. So wanted something that gave the illusion of an interior without doing a lot of work on it, quite frankly. So go ahead and jump to the next slide. So this is, kind of the view of the living room looking through the window on the left, and you look on the right, what's in there. And essentially everything that's in there was just printed. So, basically what you do is you define the wall space. I did this in PowerPoint. find objects that you want to put in there. The doors were just drawn, which are just basically squares, but then you put something around them, just a little bit of trim. The furniture came from eBay. I think it was part of one of those doll sets that was fairly inexpensive. Go and jump to the next slide. And so did the same thing in the kitchen and in the bedroom. So if you just jump again to the next slide. When you look at it, it basically looks like this. The walls are fairly simple wall between what's the kitchen and the bedroom. It's a fairly simple house. Didn't worry a lot about how that the structure matched what an actual house should be, because what I really was concerned about was when you look through the walls that you actually saw, a really believable interior, and you really don't have to put a lot of furniture in. So, I think the first two I showed are kind of crazy interiors. I know we'll probably see some others. I know Pat's got some, I hope has some amazing pictures of his engine house. But, I think it's easy to do a very simple interior. I think that's the last slide, I hope.
Yep.
I have one more. Nope, that was it.
That was it.
That was it. Cool. So that was me. Back to you guys.
All right. Thanks for sharing, Phil. Are there any questions for Phil?
I have two questions, Phil.
Yes.
When you glued your material to the plexiglass on the outside and inside, what did you use?
Epoxy.
Epoxy glue to glue all of it?
Epoxy to glue it.
Not the plexiglass. I mean the material to the plexiglass.
No. So what I did was mixed up epoxy.
Yep.
And applied it typically to the wood.
Okay.
And so I pre-cut the wood into sheets to the right size and cut the windows where I wanted the windows, because you're actually looking through the 1/8-inch plexiglass when you look through the windows. So I didn't cut out the windows. And so what you do is you put it on, and where you have the windows, you hold it back 1/4 of an inch. But basically you just scrape it out, and I just use, a piece of flat plastic to scrape it around. And then you just put it on and weight it. Put some weights on it, and it glues on really solid, and it'll never come off. And the beauty of it is you don't have to stain anything ahead of time, because you can stain it with alcohol and everything, because you can just wash it right off the plexiglass. Alcohol has no impact on plexiglass. So you can put all the wood on unstained, rough it up and stain it. You can, because once it's glued on there, it's really solid. I mean, it's
I guess.
I did all the wire brushing after I glued it onto the plexiglass.
Now the plexiglass, is it Lexan or just standard plexiglass?
It's just acrylic. It's 1/8-inch
Okay.
acrylic, like you get from Tap Plastics. The stuff that's
Gotcha.
got the blue you peel off the sides. Yep.
Yep.
And yeah.
Did you print your own figures?
No, the figures are mainly Arista and a few others.
Thank you.
By the way, I am talking to Tom, and I do have some clinics. If there's interest, I can do a set of clinics on those two buildings and kind of how they were built, if people are interested. So
Yeah, that'd be cool.
let us know in the chat.
Thank you.
All right. Fantastic work. Are there any more questions for Phil?
I can just
Yeah, in that last photo.
Go ahead.
In that last photo, what kind of lights are those? Did you scratch build those?
The lights, they're just LEDs.
Oh, okay.
They're just soft white 5mm LEDs, and I like the idea of using 2 brass rods to carry the power.
Yeah.
Just kind of always, and so that's basically, they're hot glued in. You can see on the right there, you can see it's hot glued up there to a piece of plastic that's kind of an L shape. It's an angle, and then all you do is just basically run them. They're all running through one resistor, which is probably bad, but because they're actually all in series, but that's okay. It seems to work okay. It's worked for about 7 or 8 years.
Okay, I just never saw any like those before.
Yeah, it's a neat way of wiring things up. Keeps it kind of simple that way. Keeps it a lot cleaner.
I was one of the judges at Long Beach, and I'll tell you, the competition there was pretty stiff, especially between those two structures. Which one's better than the other? They're both awful darn good. It was very well done.
Well, thank you.
All right, thanks. Any more questions, comments, concerns? All right, well, thanks, Phil. Fantastic work. And we'll move on. Earl Hackett. You up, Earl?
Yep, I'm here.
All right, cool. Looks like you got 4 slides tonight.
Yeah, not too many.
All right.
Okay, these are buildings that were I'm building a model of Thurman, West Virginia, full scale. And it takes up a one whole 36-foot length of my basement. The upper left picture is the only interior picture I have of any of the commercial buildings in Thurman. And so I wanted to model that. And I dug around and I found on the internet the original images that they had up there on the wall, the Coca-Cola ads, and stuck them up there on the wall where they're supposed to be. That I thought was sort of fun to do. Everything else in the picture, except for the people sitting down, is all 3D printed. So that's about all there is there. It's very building these models for Thurman is really interesting because there's a lot of information available on them, and you can put a lot of detail into the little buggers. This is all at HO scale. Go ahead to the next one. This is the other. This is both of these are we're in the Kincaid building, which is the larger of the 3 buildings that still exist, and it was a dry goods store. Everything you see inside the store there is 3D printed. It's all 3-dimensional. There's no images, including the people. The people in the first image in the restaurant, they were a Preezer or somebody, and they were so oversized. When I finally realized how big they were, I threw the rest of them out and started making my own. So all the images you see here, all the figures you see here are all 3D printed, as well as all the cans and the shelves and everything else in there. So you can do a lot with 3D printing if you really want to go at it. Okay, go to the next one. This is the secretary. Again, it's all 3D printed. It's HO scale. So the eraser there gives you an idea of the scale we're talking about. And any dust particle in this photograph really shows up. But I modeled her to be 5'2". She's sort of about the same size as my wife. And I wanted to have a typewriter and a phone on the desk. She's the secretary for a lawyer's office. So she's sitting there at the desk typing it. Yeah, I think they have the next photo that's a little bit shows her in the office. Yeah. Again, you see this is the restaurant. You can see inside a little more clearly. And here's the secretary over here with filing cabinets in the back. But you really can't appreciate the detail that you could build into this with 3D printing. It's pretty darn amazing. The chair she's sitting in is the one that I'm sitting in right now, and the desk is the one that my computer's sitting on right now, without the roll top. They don't have a roll top on it. So there you go.
All right. Oh, yeah, I guess that is it. All right. Thanks for sharing, Earl. Are there any questions for Earl? All righty. Well, thanks, Earl. Actually, I was up your way a couple weeks ago at the Model Railroad Club there in Yorkland. You ever been to it?
Yeah, I'm a member there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought it was kind of I saw the door. I was like, oh, that's a weird spot. I went in and it was like, you gotta go up that spiral staircase.
That's a bugger.
Yeah, I can imagine that probably keeps some people from joining. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's not handicapped accessible.
Not at
By a
all.
long shot.
But all right. Well, thanks, sir, for sharing, Earl. And I forgot to mention it previously, but happy Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yeah, same to all you guys.
All right. Now we'll move on to Jeff Jordan. You with us, Jeff?
I'm here.
All right. Made it back from the pharmacy.
Yep.
Well, all right. Looks like you've got 6 slides tonight.
Okay, yeah, this is a quick survey of structures with interiors on my layout. I really like to add interiors. So this is the mining supply building. The model came with a piece of cardstock printed, and it looked so lame, and the building came out so nice that I scratched up the interior. You can see the floor and the back wall, and then added an assortment of furniture. This is either Sierra West or Western scale models. They made an office interior set. And so it has the roll top desk, it has a chair, has another table, has a coat rack, has a safe, which was a lot of fun to paint. You know, the safes in the period often had that gold ornate leaf on it. And so I tried to get some of that on there. And then there's a calendar on the wall you can just barely see in the distance, another table. But there was big windows in the front of this structure. And so it really called for an interior. So moving around the layout, let's see which one you got next. Okay, the FD work. This is the only structure in my layout that I did not build. I purchased this from a friend who couldn't fit it on his layout, and it was beautifully, beautifully done, but it's a flat. The whole structure is less than an inch deep, and of course it has those huge windows in the front, and if you didn't do anything that, it just would have been black. And so I hunted around the internet and finally found a 3D printed supermarket interior set and took the shelving and cut it up into segments and put them into the windows of the hardware store. And then sat down with some small paint brushes, numerous different colors of paint, and picked out all the different bits and pieces on the shelf. It really adds a lot of light and color and avoids looking through the building. And so I'm very happy on how that fixed that building up. Oh, here's two different ones here. The upper left, that is the Nighthawk's Diner, the Wit and Wisdom kit. And everything you see in that picture actually came with the kit. The angle of the photo is off a little bit. I should have moved the camera down. Obviously, the idea is to try and replicate the Edward Hopper painting, and it's down a little bit lower level, but you can see the figures, the stuff on the counter, everything there came with the kit, and it's just a matter of carefully painting it to replicate the famous painting. On the right, of course, you've seen this fellow before. He's one of the figures I've painted, the blacksmith, and then the blacksmith shop. The kit, again, a very long out of production kit, provided the stove on the left and the hood, and I think the anvil, and that was about it for the interior. And so I had to provide everything else. I made the floor, I weathered it, the barrels, there's a workbench on the right with tools on it. And then that shelving unit across the back, again, is a resin piece I got off of eBay, and you just prime it and paint it and then sit and pick out all the little bits and details. And it's amazing. You don't have to be that precise as long as you don't, slop the paint over. The little bits of paint here and there really make it pop and bring out all those little details. And so it adds a lot to the structure. And of course, the blacksmith is the fella that I painted in the paint figures guy. And I got him very intentionally, expecting him to go into this structure. Incidentally, everything is lit by the Woodland Scenics just plug lighting. I find it very flexible. I like the fact that you can adjust the intensity of each light, and these all are set to different levels. The building on the left is the hoist house for a mine. It's a Banta kit, but as the kit came, it came with no interior and wanted to just put the board by board siding on. But I decided to leave the siding off of two walls and added an interior from a Keith Wiseman set, again, for the interior of a hoist house. And it includes the steam boiler on the left, the dynamo, the green object in the front for the electric power. You can barely see in the back that there's a switch panel on the wall there. There's another piece of machinery behind the fellow standing in there. The hoist, of course, is the really big object on the right. And you can sort of see that all of this is plumbed with steam lines, that there's a steam line that comes off of the boiler and runs across at about its ceiling height. And a line drops down from that line to each of these pieces of machinery to provide steam power. On the right, this is a downtown deco kit, the Metals Bank building. And the upper floor comes with this beautiful simulated metal windows. And again, there's lots of window and nothing to see in the kit. And he just suggests you pull the window shades down. I wanted to do more than that. So again, I scratch built the entire interior there. You can see the floor, the wall. I actually even scratch built the door out of styrene sheet. And then it's Berkshire, I believe, are all the little furnishings in there, including the desk chair, the bookcase on the left, the books lying around. There's a little filing cabinet in the distance. And then similar to, I think it was Greg or Phil, hunting around the internet, finding images and reproducing them. And so there's a little pastoral scene on the right. And then on the left is kind of a little bit of a joke. I model, of course, the Rio Grande Southern, but the calendar hanging on the wall, if you could see it clearly, is a New York Central Railroad calendar for the 1940s. And I think you may have one more.
Yep. Yeah, it looks
okay,
like
this is my latest project. That I recently discovered a kit made in England from Kitwood Hill of a small engine house. And in these photographs, it's not quite finished yet. I'm still working on it, but it comes with a terrific laser cut for the interior. And then the interior components, again, is a collection of stuff. Some of it is Sierra West. Again, yet another different resin cast shelving unit with the bits and pieces all picked out. The 55-gallon drums in the front are actually filled with real coal. And then over on the right, you can see the open can. I decided that's grease because this is an engine house for a Shay. So there's a can of grease there for greasing the gears on the Shay. I also really like the lights in here. This was something I found on eBay. He sells a dozen of these industrial light shades with a tiny little LED already installed. And so there's a couple of them in the engine house. On the picture on the right, if you look in the window up at the top, you can get another look at what it looks like. And it works beautifully. And then the shop on the left there is quite incomplete. Matter of fact, I was putting the interior and the lamp is knocked off kilter. I have to straighten that out. And I've started to put some furnishings in there, and I have a door for it, which I haven't hung yet either. I'm also got a potbelly stove going in there, and I'm thinking, just like on the main structure, I left off half the roof so you could see what was going on inside. I'm thinking cutting back some of the roof on the shop as well, because there's a lot going on in there as well. And this operates, this is actually on a siding, and you can pull the Shay into the engine house.
Cool. And there's your engine house.
You got another, yeah, there she is stepping back, and you can see again the light. Also, I like the doors actually swing, and I decided they needed to be able to lock up at night. So if you look on the edges of the doors, there are actually those pin type latches, and so they could pull the door shut and push the pin down and push the pin up and latch the door and lock up the engine house for the night. subsequent to these photographs, there are vents. You can see the 3 notches in the roof. I did add the roof vents on there as well, but I think I'm going to leave the other half of the roof just off so you can see what's going on in the interior of the engine house. A very neat little kit from a small company in England called Kitwood Hill. It's all laser cut, and a lot of it is on a very solid, very fine plywood material. I had originally intended to paint the exterior of this building, but I was so pleased with the wood and how it looked stained that I decided I'm just going to leave it as weathered natural wood.
It does look really nice.
It's a terrific little kit, a company I'd never heard of before. But as a matter of fact, I bought the kit secondhand. As I've said many times, I buy kits where other people have bought a kit, opened the box, see that it's a box of sticks, shake their head and put it away. And I end up buying those secondhand and putting them together. And this is yet another one of those.
Cool. All righty. Any questions for Jeff?
Yeah, Jeff, this is Phil. Just a comment. Those are the same lights I used. Those green ones you buy on eBay, they sent a pack of 10 or something.
Yep.
The one thing I noticed is they're green on the inside.
No, mine are white on the inside.
On the inside, well, the ones I got were green on the inside of the shade. So yeah, I have to paint them white. So anyway, no, but those are nice lights. If you're at O scale, they're great lights for interiors.
Yeah, and especially since this is actually on a, at the end of next month, I'm going to show you the switching layout I'm building. This is on the switching layout. And so it's not connected to the power supply for the lighting on the rest of the layout. The rest is all got the Woodland Scenics power supply and power routing. This is battery powered and a pair of D batteries to give me 3 volts and D size so that they'll have some life, illuminates all 4 of the LEDs at a nice level too, a nice intensity.
That's great.
Cool. All righty. Yeah, that lighting does look fantastic.
Yeah, and they're a bargain. I think it's like 10 for $10 or something like that. Painted LEDs in, ready to go, and very, very fine wire. You can just see to the left of the first window there, the little red and black wire going down.
Yep. Alrighty.
They're not from We Honest, are they?
I think it was We Honest.
Yeah, I think so.
The first time I bought something from them, I said, am I really going to buy something from a company that has to tell me that they're honest? But
it's pretty good stuff.
No, Tom Farrell has bought stuff from them as well.
David Liu.
Provided there's not spyware in there or anything.
It'd be hard to fit that in an LED, I guess.
I know, but there's people out there that think they can do that. But all righty. Anyway, any more questions for Jeff? All right. Well, thanks for sharing, Jeff. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year if we don't see you between now and then.
Super. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Next up is Ed O'Rourke. You up, Ed?
Yep.
All righty. Yep. Looks like you've got 6 slides tonight.
Okay.
All right. There's your first one.
All right. Yeah. So this is actually an AHM poem on the James Logan. And I decided it needed an interior. So I scratch built the partitions here, and then the most of the seats were came as a package, and some of the other stuff is actually AHM makes interiors for the cars. If you cut them apart, they form up pretty well. You can do quite a lot with them. So this is this runs in the Montrealer up to from Washington to Montreal. Next one.
Did I skip one? There we go.
So this is the Jeff Paston, who was the editor of the Coupler, ran a contest at one of our conventions. What can you do with the City Classics Grafton Avenue service station. And there happens to be a pizza place in Syracuse called Pizza Regional, where they make the best pizza I've had, I think, this side of Italy. It's really great pizza. That the oven that you see the replica of there in the back, they imported from Italy. But I extended it out and sort of tried to replicate what the Pizzeria Regionale looked like. They had on their website, I've been there a few times, but on their website, they had some interior pictures, so I could even pirate some of that, some of the signage and stuff on the walls. Next one. Yeah, that just gives you an idea what it looks like through the windows. The seated figures, you know, if you buy them, you can find them on eBay, 50 seated figures for 10 cents or whatever they come out for. Most of them are Oriental, you know, Asian people, but you can't really tell if you sit them inside of something. So they're pretty basic stuff. So you wouldn't want them sitting out where you see them in person, but in through a window or in a passenger car or something, they work just great. Next slide. There's the end of it. I stole that's the actual signage from the building that I, you know, figured out the font and printed that out. And the signs on the walls are stuff that they had interior pictures in the on their website, and I just copied some of them and then printed them off and put them up. And I didn't win. So somebody else did a better thing than I did. So, but I like this. The only trouble is a little too modern for my 1950s era. It was probably still a gas station in 1950, but we'll figure something out. Next one. All right. This is, I believe it's Railway Design Associates made a New Haven pagoda roof tower. And since I could take the top off, I decided I wanted to put an interior in it. I had all of the details from other kits. That interlocking lever thing there, I have absolutely nothing good to say about it. It's a beautiful model, but you have to thread a wire through it. I think it's I think it's American Model Builders or something makes it. You have to thread a wire through each one of those little pieces for the base, and then through the lever, and then the next one for the base and everything. And you miss one invariably, and then you have to go back, and you go back too far, and they all fall. The other one falls out and everything. And I used a whole lot of words that I didn't learn in catechism school, but eventually got put together, and it makes up very, very nicely. And they had an article in the New Haven Historical and Technical Association about what colors the different levelers were, what they were for. So I tried to duplicate some of that. And the guy's got his train sheet and stuff on the desk sitting there. And there's actually a roll of toilet paper there. And I famously, one of the guys, the guy who was the superintendent of the division, modeled in N3 and modeled a business car with a complete interior, including lights. And he had a roll of toilet paper in the bathroom with the toilet paper coming over the edge of it. He was a master model railroader for sure. I don't know how he did it. He brought a, he made hot rods out of the some of the plastic kits. They're Sylvan scale models kits, and he brought it over to some friends to look at, who, of course, being the supportive people they were, one of them said, "But Brian, you don't have any spark plug wires coming off the distributor here. What the heck is that about?" So he went back and did it with, I don't know what he used for wire. And came back a month later, banged it down on the thing. There, I did it, and I'm never doing it again. So, next slide.
Yep, and it looks like this
is a scratch build of the Plainville, Connecticut station that I needed to fit at an angle between two tracks. And it's just the, again, I scratched both the interior parts from stuff that I had and some various things here and there. That's the baggage room on the right with a bunch of baggage in it, the agent's desk, and the men's and ladies' toilet and the waiting room. Next one.
Oh, looks like that was it.
Oh, that was it. Okay, I thought I had one more. Maybe not. Okay.
No. Alrighty. Thanks, Ed.
All right. Yep.
All right. Any questions for Ed?
What'd you use for for your registers?
They came in a Junco plumbing supply building kit
Okay.
that I got for $5 at an auction. And I built the kit, but I could have thrown the kit away and kept all the castings that came with it and still made money. So that's where they came from. Yeah.
Nice job.
Right. Any more questions? Alrighty. Well, thanks, Ed. Thank you for sharing. Fantastic work. Happy Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Next up, we've got Steve Sherrill. Where are you, Steve?
He's here.
There you are. All right. Looks like I think you've got what I figured, 2 slides here. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a little consolidating on this one.
Well, as you can see from my picture right there, I'm modeling in West Virginia. So if you look at the photo on the right, you'll recognize that kit that's built in scale, HO, and O scale. It's an Atlas crossing shanty. And I wanted to have a small station, a flag stop station at a place I call maybe West Virginia. So it was constructed exactly as the instructions told you to build, excuse me. And then I just had some, I came across some interior furniture, and I don't know the manufacturer, but I think it was Berkshire Valley. And so I purchased that. And of course, I scratch built the crate, and I think Berkshire Valley provided most of the detail parts in there. I did make the platform, created with the coffee stirs, of course, and that's an active place. And the little shelf outside is where cans of oil, things like that, to maybe needed to service an engine if it's needed as it came by. The bench I got off of eBay. They make those in all scales, so I got a bag of those, and I just spray painted it black and stuck it out there. The paddles are S scale. The signal paddles, they came from Wiseman, and I used those on the layout to notify the trains when to stop if they had to pick up orders. So that's. You also notice the drover's caboose, which I sent a close up of that, but I guess it's not in this. But I put an interior in that.
Yeah, there's one more slide.
Oh, that's the next slide? Okay.
No, I guess not.
Oh, this one.
No, it looks like
okay, that's all right. You can go to the next one.
All right. There we go.
So the next one is just something I threw together. That's supposed to be an old abandoned sawmill, and it's now being used as a still. And it has an old building next to it where they keep the bottles of the hooch until they deliver it. I didn't quite get the 40 Ford coupe over here that was used to deliver. This is something I just threw together. The guy's got a top hat. He's watching the brew until it's ready to be poured and put into the jars. But this is something I just threw together. It hardly even catches anybody's attention because it's about 6 feet high off of the level of the layout.
Just a little attention getter if you look up high enough.
Yeah, you got to look at it. Yes.
Yeah.
All the figures are artistic here.
Yeah, that's some really nice modeling. I like how that shed came out. It's really nice. The tar paper and the shingles on it. I guess those are asbestos or would have been asbestos shingles.
Yes.
Yeah. Very
Yeah,
nice.
I'm not a big interior modeler. I think these are the only things I have, and I've done it, and I probably will never do another model with an interior.
Alrighty, thanks for sharing, Steve. Are there any questions for Steve?
Steve, who made the switch stands you have there?
Those are Grant Line.
Thank you.
And
beautiful work.
All the throws are made by me with a paper clip. Someday I'll show how that's done. It costs about 25 cents a piece to make those throws.
Okay, whose paper clips do you use?
Well, you're going to laugh when I tell you this, but there are actually some paper clips that you cannot even bend. They're steel, and I found this out. And I'll have to show you the brand to get because trust me, some of them I could not cut at all with any kind of a wire cutter. So, but anyway, yeah, that's all. All the switches and everything are Pico HO. Excuse me, Pico O scale.
Alrighty. Any more questions for Steve?
Nice job, Steve.
Thank you.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks for sharing, Steve. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Same back.
All right. Next up, we have a new person to our fold here. Greg Shinney. Are you up, Greg? Okay. Looks like we've got 7 slides from him. And he's got a bunch of interiors that he put together. So there's the first. Now looking at him, I think this is the precursor to this one. So he's got layers of detail in his building. So they came out fantastic. And then of course you've got the end wall. And then here we have the finished product. I'm thinking, is this a DPM model? Anybody know?
Scale structure.
Yep.
That's not typically a DPM.
Yeah, it doesn't look like DPM's kind of stuff.
Could be an
Maybe
old,
Scratch built it.
an old AHM building, maybe.
Yeah, it could be.
Beautiful job anyway.
Yeah, fantastic work. I can't imagine how long it must have taken to put this together.
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
I don't want to narrate for Greg, but he built that for his daughter, and it was on the railroad line. I just saw that a little while ago.
Oh, okay.
The one side was built so that he could see the full interior.
Okay. Yeah, so you can pull it off. Makes sense.
I can't remember the thread I saw it in, but I'll let you know sometime.
All right. Yeah, it's great. Thanks, Rich. Come on, photo. There we go. Oh, and look, there are interior lights that he put in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look at the Canadian penny to show you the scale.
It's just how big are those Canadian pennies?
That's all right. It's a great job.
Yeah.
They've gotten smaller, so the model looks bigger.
Only worth about a quarter of a cent.
That's real copper you're looking at.
All right, no Justin Trudeau jokes here. All right, and it looks like this is what it looks like in the front and fully lit. So I want to thank Greg for showing us his stuff, and hopefully next time he can come on. And I'll have to look back through my notes and see if I forgot to write down his info on there, so I apologize for that. All right, next up we have Gary Shergold. You up, Gary?
Yes, I am.
All righty. Looks like you've got 7 slides this evening.
Yeah, these 2 slides, this is like a little kit that comes, and it does come with an interior. It's Woodland Scenics. And this is the gun and tackle shop. As you can see, it makes a nice little kit and comes with a beautiful interior. And it's all metal, and the work or the finishing is in the painting. As you can see, all the items in the windows. The photo on the right is the barber shop. And again, it comes with a complete interior, all metal building. And it comes with the barber's chair, the barber outside, little barber's pole. And these are some of my earlier kits in my earlier introduction into interiors. Good way to start modeling with simple, easy to finish interiors. Next slide.
Good.
Okay, this is the car shop that I had done. This is number 3 building, which finishes off. This finishes off my triple yard area, and it's just showing activity looking through the 2 front doors. The one on the left showing the track going into the doors and some of the activity. And the one on the right is the right side door as you look at it. And they're working on the machinery and doing or building a flat car. Next slide. Again, we're getting some shots of the interior. What's really nice about this, everything in here is scratch built. All the benches, they were all cast with moldings I had done. And what I tried to do in these scenes is make little areas within the shop where they're actually working. What they're working on the left-hand side, the gentleman has the crane hoist off the framework, and he's repairing it, and they've got the new motor and that up on the workbench there in the brown box. And the 3 gentlemen there are doing that little project within the shop. And the one on the right shows one of the gentlemen taking a little nap against the cardboard boards there near the hoist. And the supervisor over there having a little talk with him, saying he better get up and do some work. You can see the on the workbenches in the middle near the front. That's the new motor for the crane they're working on. Some forklift trucks. On the left-hand side near the walls, you can see the couple workers talking. One worker cleaning up the floor. There's a spool being hoisted by the crane, and all the tools and that on the workbenches. Again, just about everything in there with the exception of the people in the forklift trucks. That's all scratch built, all hand painted. See the workers on the other side working on the engines. Next slides. Again, just a different view. Photo on the left showing the flat car being built. The brake system in front of it sitting on the skid. Along the wall are the workbenches with tools. One of the workers bent over looking in the drawer. The other gentleman talking to him, and a couple of the workers at the machinery. Near the back, you can see the yellow. That's the office on the right-hand side in the left photo. Coke machine on the back wall. All the electrical panels. On the left photo, on the left-hand corner, that's the washroom. The right photo, that shows the little carpentry area where they have the saw working on cutting wood for the flat car, crane for lifting up stuff. There's a pile of wood with a tarp over it. On against the wall, they have all the oxyacetylene tanks all piled up. The gentleman moving them around and putting the chain up for safety. In the yellow area, walls, that's the washroom. Next slide. And just a little close up. The one on the left shows a close up of the washroom. It's a little water tank up above for flushing the sink. Around the back door, there's an emergency light. Oil can supply containers, trash cans, gentleman taking some scraps out to the back door. The photo on the right shows the little bit of the office. A couple of gentlemen inside talking, gentleman with the machinery. On near the track area is the pile of wood. It's going to end up as a flooring for the flat car. Workshop or workbench at the back. Closer look at the electrical panels. I think that's it. Or is there...
I think there's more.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Oh, wait, there's more.
Yeah, there is more. Looking down into the shop, showing the office area. A couple of gentlemen talking. There's another gentleman that just part of them sitting there with. There's three gentlemen in the office. The registers against the walls. Everything is done by heat. Closer look up the stack of wood that's going to eventually go on top of the flat car. Gentleman by the machinery. The photo on the left shows a shop looking from the back, looking forward to the front of the building, showing some of the activity there with the crane, some of the ladders, the machinery, and again, the work tables with lots of tools. I think that's it. Oh,
there's still more.
There's still more. Sorry.
Yep, this is the last slide.
Okay. Yeah, this is showing the front of the shop. The photo on the left showing the machinery, a gentleman in the corner moving a piece of machinery around near the front. Shows the work tables. As I say, they're all scratch built. This is HO scale. The gentleman resting and the supervisor talking to him, probably telling him, hey, I think you better get up and do some work.
Yeah.
So we have the chains on the skids, the ladder tools in the box underneath. And then we have the gentleman in the lift truck moving large coils, putting them up and stacking them in the corner. The photo on the right again shows a little closer in the detail I was talking about. Gentlemen working on the cranes, the press machinery over in the corner.
Well, that's aside from the work, there was an awful lot of thought that had to go into this, and I commend you for that. That's huge. Just all the different things you thought about as you put this together. That's amazing.
It was just I just wanted to put themes into different parts of the. I wanted this to be a very busy building with the areas, like things occurring in the areas. And one of the nice things is there at the back of the shop is a Coke machine, and the front of the shop is a Pepsi machine.
Jeez.
So the gentlemen have a choice whether they want a Coke or Pepsi.
Yeah, I think I went through the Strasbourg car shop a couple years ago, and there was like one guy working. But and actually, I think they were working on something for a certain mouse-eared company, but there was a bunch of people working on that.
Yeah.
So
I've been on tours and been in some of the shops, and I was quite surprised. Like I thought the shops would be fairly sparse and clean, but I found them to be quite cluttered and dirty.
Oh
Like,
yes, extremely.
Yeah, extremely dirty.
Yeah, I didn't even want to step in the engine shop because there was just you look at something and you're dirty.
Yeah.
But
those are beautiful pictures. They look like high definition. What camera did you use?
These photos were all done, believe it or not, with my iPad. Normally, I use a Nikon 35 mil camera, digital, but my daughter got me this iPad for Christmas a few years back, and I can't believe the quality of the photographs it produces.
Yeah, there's a lot of detail that it shows, that it allows.
Yes.
Gary, this is Father Ron. I like to see how much business or work that's going on in there. And I was reminded that a reporter once asked the Pope how many people work at the Vatican, and he said about half.
Well, I thought just for fun, we'd put that gentleman down there on the left-hand photograph, sitting down, relaxing while everyone else is working, and the supervisor coming over and have a little chat with him.
Maybe he could be overheated, though. He may be having a medical issue.
That's true, too. That's true.
He may need some help. And he's got his boss running, yelling at him. Maybe he's hungover from the night before.
Should have an ambulance outside the door.
But alrighty. Any questions for Gary before we move on? Alrighty. Well, thanks for sharing once again, Gary, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you and everybody. And thank you very much.
Yep, thank you. All right, next up is Bill Stimson. Yep, Bill.
I'm here. So this is an N-scale station that I scratch built in styrene. You know, and this is the exterior. Go on to the next slide, please. Here's a picture of the pieces before it was assembled, and you can see the interiors. The freight room on the left is a bunch of crates that I found in my box of things came out of various kits and stuff, so they're just set there. But the station room on the right, all of that is scratch built. All the bench with the people in it, the ticket window, the figures are not scratch built. I think they're all just Bachman or Woodland Scenics. But even the dining area, that's all scratch built in N scale. So next slide. There's some closer looks at the interior. Next slide. And there it is before the interior was put in. It's set in the curve and this in my layout now. Next slide. These are some figures. I figured we had to have some Christmas stuff. So this is some stuff my son printed for me. And when I'm burned out on model railroading, I paint up some of these figures. So Merry Christmas, everybody.
Alrighty, Merry Christmas to you too. So yeah, I was wondering what the purpose was behind this. So yeah, that's neat.
It's Christmas.
Yep.
The troll is bringing a gift, and the snowmen are ready to throw snowballs at him if he gets that knife out.
Yep.
Appreciated the stairwell in the station.
Oh, here's a picture with my Christmas trains.
There you go. All right. I think there might be one more here.
Oh, there's the one that you can actually see in the window.
Yep, there you go.
And it is lit. It's right now being lit by a 9-volt battery. It's set up to be put into my Woodland Scenics light hub thing, but when I took it to the division meet, I used a 9-volt battery for the lights rather than try and drag a wall wart and all that other stuff. And these are just old Bachman N-scale Christmas trains.
Okay.
That should be it.
Yep. Who's a manufacturer of the kit?
It's not a kit.
Oh, you scratch built it.
I scratch built everything out of styrene.
Oh, okay. And the exterior. Okay.
The windows are Tichy windows with the bottom mullions removed.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I used a plan from an old model railroader to build this. It sits on a curve.
Yeah. Neat. Yeah, there was a kit, an old Dynamodels kit that center section reminded me of. I think it's called Passenger Station number 2 or something like that. And in fact, I've got a piece of it around here somewhere. But it's very reminiscent of that kit. But thanks for sharing, Bill.
No problem.
And,
Merry Christmas.
are there any questions for Bill? All righty. Well, thanks again, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Bill. And now, Father Ron, looks like you're going to close it out with the last 3 slides.
I'm here.
All right.
This is beginning of one of the what do you call it? The build that you did about 3 years ago. I forget who made Banta made it's a transfer or storage facility or whatever. I began putting an interior into it. This is one of the only photographs I took of it while I was building it. The storage area had a lot more in it than what you see in this picture, but at least this was the beginning. The figures, of course, are not scratch built, but everything else in there is scratch built. Next slide. This is the interior of a model of a Design Preservation Works kit. The Julie and Julia, the movie. This is the Julie's upstairs apartment with her husband. That's all scratch built except for the figure there in the upper right-hand corner. I just tried to figure out what something would look like, and I made it out of plastic. You won't see the left wall has a mirror on it, just like the original movie did. I reran the movie a dozen times or so, trying to figure out what everything looked like on the interior. Even the kitchen, I tried to make it as authentic as possible. Next slide. This is out of focus, but this is one of Walther's kits. It's the cattle pens. There were 2 kits that someone asked me to put together for him. And of course, there are stalls in the back of the kit. And I decided to put together and enclose some of the stalls and make it a place where you can have a tack room and an office and a place where you can, the horses can stay as they're herding the cattle or the sheep or whatever. So it has interior lighting. I think those were just things I picked up on eBay for lights. Of course, I didn't keep this kit. I was building it for someone else, so he has it now. But that's the clearest picture I could get of the interior. So I've built a lot of interiors, but I don't think to take the pictures of them. Maybe you guys are the same. I don't know. I just forget to pull out my iPhone and take a picture. So that's all I have. I rooted through all of my photographs, and I only had 3 interiors to show you.
Right. Well, thanks, Father Ron. Are there any questions for Father Ron? All righty. Well, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Father Ron.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
And thank you for sharing. Bob Farquhar just emailed or texted and said that I missed some of his photos. So if you guys want to go back to Jim for a few minutes, then I'll upload those pictures and we can come right back to them because I found them. So I apologize, Bob, but we'll get you. I want to thank everybody that participated previously tonight. And Greg, did you have anything to throw in there?
Only that I wish more of my builds had this much participation. I love seeing everything that everybody else works on and what everybody else is building. And I especially love these interiors, but if we can get this kind of participation in more than my builds, it'll be even that much better.
Definitely. All right. So give me a minute here and I will get Bob's photos up on the slideshow. Yeah, if you guys wanted to go and do something and then come back in a couple minutes, I will have them for you. So I guess back to you for a couple minutes there, Jim. Will that work?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I tell you what, this basically was the end of the show, except for my statement about the wrap up for this. I hate to start the wrap up and take a lot of time and then come back to you. So let me just stay with you, Chris. Okay. I don't know how long it's going to take you to do what you need to do, but let's go ahead and get Bob's photos loaded. Then Earl can just include this in the one segment and not have to break out 2 segments to get this on the YouTube channel.
Gotcha. All right. Let me,
you know, Chris, you can quick at it. That'll maybe show it in January or something.
I got them right here, Bob. It'll be
No, Bob, we want to include it. That's fine.
Hey, Bob, tell us a joke while we're waiting.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. How many letter D's are in the song Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? Turns out there's 2042. Dee 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 dee. They weren't expecting a good one, were you?
Chris, on second thought, throw his photos away.
While you do that, I'll show a couple of interiors that I didn't put in. So these were older pictures, but they kind of show. So these are Banda kits. So kind of coming back to what you can do with a Banda kit to add an interior in. You can kind of see through what you get in the interior there. So this was a module, and these are also the Banda, the same, using the Banda kit that's a blacksmith, and then a shop over here, and kind of took all of these, and the interiors are all, if you look at this, these are all just blocks of wood, and the shelving is just put together with some strip wood. But when you look at it through the walls from the outside, it gives a very good impression of an interior. If you don't look at the lights, are just LEDs in the ceiling. So some similar stuff. I think Chris is done.
Yep, I'm
So
ready.
I'll throw it back to you just to have something there.
Alrighty, thanks. Let's go back to here, and then we'll go back to share screen. And then we have it. I apologize, Bob. We got you now.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
All right. So there we go.
Oh, this is the interaction gas station. And next picture. No, sorry, I didn't show the interior of the other one. This is the HO scale Share West kit. It's a logging diorama. It's called Twin Mills on Deer Creek, and that's I build the roofs to come off in 3 pieces, so you can see the interior detail. Otherwise, it's lost in the building. Next one, there is another one.
Yeah, there's one more, but this is a fantastic photo. Just, I mean, look at the details in that. The sawdust on the floor, that big saw in the background there that's just hiding in the shadows. That is cool. Oh, here we go.
That's the interior of that gas station from Interaction from British Columbia. I did another one of this one where the ice machine is there in the front. I actually put a Coke machine in there, and I had a switch underneath that. They moved the Coke machine to the right. The lights came on.
Oh, cool.
All the details are vector cut, they're called. They're no longer in business, and the washrooms are detailed as well.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing. I apologize for missing them the first time around, but we got them.
Okay.
So, all right, thanks. Any questions for Bob?
Yeah, Bob, how long did it take to do that sawmill interior? There's a lot of detail in that.
Oh, geez, I'd probably go a week.
Oh, gee.
Yeah.
It'd take me 6 months.
Well, there's called Twin Mills. There's 2 sawmills actually, and they're joined together. Actually, on the bottom left of that picture, that is sticking out a bit. That goes into the other building. And keeps on going there. They got the chop saws and the gang saws and everything else in the other building as well.
Wow, you Canadians love your sawmills, don't you?
Oh yeah, oh, yeah.
I like the cut log on there and the detail in the log carriage and everything else.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Is that a can of paint down front there?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
It's the little details. Holy
I put some extra details in there as well. It comes with a lot of details, those kits, but I put a lot of my own in there too.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. All right, thanks for sharing, Bob. Any questions for Bob? All right, Bob. Well, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
And we will
back at you.
All righty. All right, so I guess we'll call that a wrap. You have anything to throw in there, Greg?
Just again, thanks to you for putting these together. every month. I know it's a lot of work collecting them all, sorting them, and then putting the slideshow together. And I think we all really appreciate it, Chris.
Yeah, thanks. It's this month was pretty substantial. I mean, this was I'm glad we had this many participants, but wow, this is a lot. So anyway, thanks everybody for participating, and we'll wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And if you guys are around for next week or the week after, then I believe the channel is open for topics of discussion, etc. So. All right, thanks, and I will give it back to Jim. And Jim, I guess you're about done, aren't you? Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you for doing everything that you've done, Chris. You've been a big help for a long time doing this.
Yeah,
and,
you've been at it for what we started in 2019, 2020,
something like that.
Yeah, it was
something like that.
right when COVID started, I think.